Good morning. Okay, this is the tale of two sweeties. I've already did the review for Married at First Sight, and as I said, this show has a lot of triggers in it. I sincerely pray that on the down low or low key, they were trying to bring awareness to domestic violence, but I have a feeling that's just not what that was. Um, So once I got through all my traumas and dramas, actually 24 hours after the last book ends, and I had that 7 hour physical altercation, I was called for an interview for a job, and I have never used so much makeup in my life. And I had to use a ton of it just to go on the interview. And I really had to wear clothing that covered me from head to toe. Um, so you talk about turtlenecks and the whole nine. And I got a job. Well, I would like to say 6 to 8 months later. Yeah, maybe about that time. I'm still depressed. I'm still grieving. I'm I'm just I don't want to be bothered really. But I did have a thing with a dude. But further down the line, a new guy came into the office and all the women tripped over him. He was shorter than me. You'll understand the premise of that later when I get to the second sweetie. So everybody, I mean, you got people, women, all kinds of women just tripping over this man, just tripping over him. Like they had never seen a man before. And the truth of the matter was they never had seen a man who worked before. Oh my goodness, this office was deep in the hood, so to speak. And he would call me because I was in the main office. He would call me sometimes two times, at least two times a day, sometimes three. And he had these interruptions. And even though I made him a note because he asked me to put on his door. But they would bypass the office and go straight to his office. And he's opening the door. And he's calling me. He's like, and he'll call me by my name. Did this particular person come by the office first to set up an appointment with me? And I'm like, no, I don't even know who you're talking about. And he said, could you come down to the office, to my office, please, and get this person to set up an appointment? And I said, okay, that was code for me to come get this person away from me. I'll come down to his office, and the chick will be standing there, boobs. I mean, boobs hanging out, basically on a platter, hanging out. Clothing just not fitting too tight, hair all kinds of ways, over makeup, everything, the whole nine. And he was like, "Oh my god." He would just shake his head and put his head down. Could you escort her to the office, please, and get an appointment for her? And you know what my hours are? And I'm like, yeah, I do. And she, well, I don't understand why I can't talk to him right now. I said, because he's not available. He's not available to talk to you. What do you mean he's not available? He should. I'm like, he is not available to talk to you. Not at this time. I said, you can follow me down to the office and we can see if we can find an appointment where you can see him. They didn't like that. So, of course, as I'm continuously walking down the office, as soon as they spot an exit, they dart out. And he had two kids. They were teens, and he was a widower. Not that they cared. He was a man. That's all they cared about. I was like, oh my God. Um, Dude would bring gifts to my job, all kinds of gifts. It wasn't a toxic relationship. It was a mess and it was a thing. Okay. It was those, that's exactly what it was. And I knew it when I called this house one time, and his mother picked up the phone. And his mother was at the house, and she said, "Why are you trying to love him, because he can't be loved?" And I told her, I said, I I'm not, I don't feel that way towards him. I said, I'm not loving him. And she said, "Oh, your eyes are wide open." I said, "Yeah, I can walk away anytime." And that's when I walked away. But Sweetie, whatever I needed, Sweetie would make sure I had it. Anything I wanted, anything I needed. If I needed a couple of dollars just to make it to payday, I got it. Whatever I needed. And the thing was, I wouldn't even have to tell him. He just show, whatever reason, he would just show up in my office and be like, um, here. I'm like, what? What is this? And he's like, don't ask me what this is. Just here. And I was like, okay. And I look at it and I'm like, I can't take this from you. He's like, I know you need it. Don't worry about it. It's here. It's available to you. And I was like, okay. I was I was not ready. I was not ready for a relationship. I was not ready for anything or anybody. And I wasn't trying to be ready. Okay. So then I knew it had gone too far, and we weren't involved like that either. Um he took me home one day because my car had broken down. And he looked at me and he said, "I'm in love with a woman half my age, and it's you." And I was like, because the thing was, because he kept calling me to his office to get these crazy women who was showing up, there was a lot of rumors going around. And so we really, we were just friends. He'll go to lunch and he'll stop in my office. You need something? Well, where are you going? I didn't think about it. He asked, and it saved me a trip to go get lunch. So yeah, sure, I need lunch. And tell me how much I need. Did I ask you for money? I just asked you if you wanted lunch. Okay. So he'll go get me lunch. There was a party going on, and I had to be in the office to man the office. And he come back with a piece of cake, and he said, "You want some?" And I was like, "Oh, how sweet! Thank you for bringing me the cake." He's like, and he cut the cake and he fed me. He helped me move. He was just a really sweet guy. But I was not ready. I was not ready for a full blown relationship. And when he told me he was in love with a woman half his age, I couldn't breathe. I couldn't breathe. My eyes got all wide, and I couldn't breathe. I couldn't breathe. And I looked at him and I said, I am not somebody worthy of love. That's how beat down I was. I'm sorry. I'm hungry. I'm hungry. And I got another meeting in about a half hour. So I just needed a touch of something. So my stomach, you won't hear my stomach growling as I continue this. My eyes bugged, and I told him, I said, I'm not somebody worthy of love. That's how beat down I was. And I put in my 2 weeks notice on my job. I found another job, and I left that office. Months, years later, another sweetie stood 6'9". Now you understand why I drew attention to his height the last time. This one was 6'9". So this is my 6'9" sweetie now. We worked together in ministry. Okay. And this man, they called him my shadow. The mothers of the church were planning our wedding because they had never seen him act the way he did with any woman except me. And some of the things that he did, and what I learned from the first sweetie was there are men out there who will give you whatever you want, whatever you need, with no questions asked, because they really and truly love you. They really and truly respect you. They really and truly want and need you in their life. That's what the first one taught me. This one taught me about protection. Safety and protection. I had never, ever in my life felt so safe and so well protected until my 6'9" sweetie. Oh my goodness, this man. I was standing on top of a rickety table decorating the church for an event. And my friend and co-worker, she was on the table with me, also helping to hang and straighten and things like that. Dude comes down the stairs, and no, not Sweetie comes down the stairs. So I won't confuse you. Sweetie comes down the stairs. Dude is long gone. Dude was gone before Sweetie number one came in. My 6'9" sweetie is coming down the stairs, and because he stands 6'9", he can see me anywhere. He ain't got to do nothing. He ain't even got to look hard. He's 6'9". He can see everything. Okay. He's coming down the stairs and he sees me, and the first thing and mind you, I got my back to the staircase, so I'm not even turned around. And he starts hollering, "You need to get down from there. That's a rickety table. That table's going to break any minute. You don't need to be up there." Now, mind you, I have my friend and coworker is standing on the other side of me. We're both up there. He's yelling at me. And so I turn around. I looked at him and I said, "Well, if you feel like that, come get me." I didn't think he would. Because like I said, by the time the second bookend happened, and because of the tragedy, and then what I found out behind the tragedy and everything else, and not having any family support, any love anywhere, I did not believe that anybody cared enough about me falling off a table. That's how bad it was. And I was going to counseling and unpacking my bags and learning things and understanding things, and just one little bit at a time, because you can only, when you start unpacking your bags, you can only do one little bit at a time. You can't do the whole bag, and there's usually a whole series of bags. Okay, from the biggest to the smallest. And so my 6'9" sweetie runs down the rest of the stairs, makes it right to the table, looks at me, turns around. I look, and he pats his back. I look. I was like, I'm not about to wrap my legs around you. I don't know you. So I got down on my knees on the table. Now, mind you, like I said, my coworker who's married and friend who's married, her husband was not the least bit concerned or anything else. He was concerned about me. I'm not even sure if he was in the building. Her husband was in the building. I'm not. I can't recall. So I'm on my knees. I wrap my arms around his neck, and he reaches back and holds me to him. Because like I said, I refused to wrap my legs around him. And he slowly walks away from the table till he hears my legs drop behind him. And then he's walking away from now everybody in the building is looking at him like, because they had never seen him act that way behind any woman. Not one. I was the first. The mothers immediately started planning our wedding. But everybody is looking around like, who is she? Not, okay. So as he's walking away from the table, he says, this is what we do in school. This is how school kids act. And I was like, oh, no, you didn't. So I took one of my hands and I hit him on the shoulder. And he let me go. Like I said, he's 6'9". I stand 5'7" flat-footed. So when to me, it wasn't a far drop, And I was on my feet. I didn't hit the ground or nothing crazy. I landed on my feet. So that was one thing. The other thing was the same event. The pastor had made a announcement from the pulpit that if you wanted to sign up for the event, the women were to come to me and the men were to go to him. So I'm in the back. I'm perched on the pew. And I'm surrounded by women. And I'm talking to them about the event and giving things. Because we had two different directions for the men and for the women. It wasn't necessarily about the popcorn mixing with the butter. It was more about ministry and learning and growing. And so I heard a voice behind me that was obviously male. They called me by name, of course, because the pastor announced my name, right? So I finished up with the last woman. By the time I stood up and made the turn around, Sweetie was in front of me. Hi, how you doing? Nice to meet you. My name is and how can I help you today? And the guy looked at him and was like, I wanted to talk to her about the event. And Sweetie was like, the pastor told you, said to everybody, the women were to go to her for their directions. The men were coming to me because I have different directions. So how can I help you? And he did one of my dad's numbers, with the hand thing, which was always my dad's signal of, you need to get behind me. And so he did the same thing my dad did. I didn't think about it. I slid out ever so nice from the pew, right behind him, turned around and walked out the door. um, Sweetie, my 6'9" sweetie and I, we were like the Opie and Sinclair. It was gonna take us 5 years to get it together because neither one of us was ready. He was wrestling with his own demons. I had my own issues, and we were both trying. Instead of throwing it at each other, we just kept everything in ministry. We surrounded everything with ministry. We talked at the church. We didn't even try to go out. We just handled everything real nice. Like I said, the mothers were planning our thing. But the one thing that I will never ever forget that stands out the biggest in my mind was when, and this is when I knew, when it was ding, 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 this man really cares about you, was when he defended me to his mother. That had never ever happened. I had never ever been defended against the family. Any family, my own family, you know, the two bookends family. Never ever did they defend me. He did. He did. And his mother was the one that told me. She came to church during the week. We found out because I noticed he had been missing, but I didn't understand. And we covered each other when he gave the best he could, and I knew his bad days the same way he knew mine, and we covered each other. We made sure that nobody took advantage of each other during those times. So what he did, he winded up going to the hospital. He didn't realize he was that sick. He was sicker than he thought. He was sick to the point of death. He was sick and dying. And so when the word came down through the pastor and all that he was sick and dying, I wrote him a letter. I put it in a card and I mailed it because I didn't know exactly which hospital he was in. Well, his mother was picking up his mail. She not only picked up the mail, she opened it. She opened it, took it to the hospital, and before she could tell him that she had accidentally opened it, he went off. He said, "You see this name? Don't you ever open any mail for you. Bring it right to me. You bring it right to me. Don't open it. Don't do nothing with it. And anything she needs, you make sure she has it." That woman came to church on Sunday. Now, this happened during the week. That woman came to church on Sunday, got in my face. And at that time, anybody in my space, I'm a lot better now than I used to be. But trust me, you could only come so close to me before I was doing one of this. Okay? I did that for a long time. I don't hug people. People don't hug. People ask me if they can hug me. Okay? And they still ask me if they can hug me. Okay? I just don't. And she looked at me. She said, "Who is you?" And I looked at her. I'm like, ma'am. She said, "I took your letter and your card to my son in the hospital, and he went off on me. So I need to know, who is you?" Now, mind you, this woman had been seeing me in church. I had been hanging around the family Cause he had cousins. I was best friend with one of the cousins' wives, and so it wasn't like I was that much of a stranger to her. She knew me. But she wanted to know, and I didn't really know, but it started clicking. It really clicked into place at that moment. This man cares about me. I had never been that cared for in my entire life. So I didn't know what it looked like to be cared for. He defended me to his mom. He defended me to his mom. Sweetie died 1 week before his birthday. And I was there for the funeral and everything. But I couldn't cry. I didn't shed tears until for a couple of years. It took a couple of years. And then and the only reason why I cried was because Sweetie's friend in the church, who was friends with my friend at the time, and dude was always at me. And I finally looked at him like, what is your problem? And he said, I had never seen anybody with a halo over their head on the regular. And even when you get upset, that halo just slides back and then slides back into place. He said, and I keep wanting to snatch that thing off your head. I was like, "Urgh," you know? So he died. When he died, and I had to support my friend. Now, mind you, she came and supported me when Sweetie, 6'9" Sweetie, died. So I went and supported her when he died, when her friend died, who was also Sweetie's friend. When I went and supported her, that's when it kicked in. That Sweetie was permanently gone from my life. And the thing was, there were rumors that he fought hard to continue to live. It was like we both realized too late that, because we would have been the power couple today. Had we got together, we would have had a powerful ministry. We would have been powerful together. But it was apparent he was not the one God intends for me. And it's okay, because I'd rather wait for the one that God has for me than to be with someone, especially after learning what I've learned and going through what I went through. And I say all that to say this. Paige is already broken. She was broken before she got married. She was broken after the marriage. And Lord willing, the creek don't rise, she gets out of this, she's still going to be broken. She has a long way to go. There's a lot of baggage she's going to have to unpack. But eventually, at some point in time, she will get there. What I say to everybody who either has already survived or is surviving, or who has overcome, or who is empowered, allow yourself room. Forgive yourself, number one, because there's a lot that you didn't know. The second thing is allow yourself room. Don't rush into relationships. Don't rush into anything. Don't make any serious life decisions. Allow yourself room to heal, to grow, and then to love. This is God's Heirloom, Platinum Voice 8, BW4C Poetess, signing off.